We are live. Welcome back, everybody. After a week off, we are back. And with me is Matt joining us for today's watch party. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, hello. How we
And
doing?
how is everybody? I am so happy that everybody is joining us today. I know we had a time difference, a time shift overseas. So I don't know how this is going to play with everybody's um, time that they're watching this, but I'm so glad you guys are here. Welcome, one and all. And before we get started, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Let's see, we have Hell If I Know, Miss Swift, Eric, James Hellier, old Johnny Devick, and Edward the Black Prince, Cowbot, and let's see who else. And those are in the YouTube chat. And over in Discord, we have Brainwire, Cowbot. Um, let's see, Mr. Furzel's there. Hey, y'all. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? I will get to you if I missed you. I'm a bit off a little bit today. This cross country move has just wiped me out, and I have had to resort to a big empty room for the watch party. So I'm trying to talk a little bit lower to keep the echo down to a minimum until I can find a more permanent place. So just bear with me. All right, so without further ado, the sync point is about 15 seconds in at that TriStar logo. And Matt, why don't you count us down?
Okay, and we're going to be counting down from number 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
Hit play and let's go. Um, so let's talk about everyone's history with this movie, whether you've seen it in the theater, whether you had a chance of renting it, or there was one person in the chat who said they've never seen this before. So we can start chatting. We've got a lot of trivia. And of course, most of our discussions go off on a tangent and we end up talking about all kinds of fun stuff. So, as the credits are rolling, how about you, Matt? When was the first time you've seen this?
This is, yeah, and it's odd. Harrison just came out in 1986. I'm obviously was around to see it in the theater, but can't remember doing so. So, not sure when I saw this.
And you know what? It is a late 80s gem of a movie, so it has been around a long time. Um, so, in the comments, let's see, Eric, for me, it's back to the old time. Oh, the old times. The old time, meaning the time switch. Yes, and James, we're back at 20, 30 hours in the UK, so that's your original time. All right, so Hell If I Know. I saw this on video first, and I bought it on DVD and watched it many times after. Wonderful. Let's see, Miss Swift, rearranging my room, so not a lot of pithy comments. Okay. Let's see, James Heller. I first saw this in the cinema. Steve Gutenberg was a big star back then. Oh, you know it. He was everywhere. Miss Swift saw it on cable. Calbot saw it in the theater. Let's see. Eric says, I did not see it in the cinema, but I do know the first time I saw it, I loved it right away. It was probably, I'm guessing, Eric, it was maybe a rental or on cable. An old Johnny Devick, first view. Wonderful. You will enjoy it. And okay, let's see. Um, so, as you know, when you start a movie off by showing flowers in a field, of course, what's going to happen? They're going to get trampled. Um, so, yeah, this seems to be back in the 80s, this was just kind of par for the course with that mix of sci-fi comedy, and you put Ali Sheedy and Steve Gutenberg, and It's not even a rom-com, but it's the sci-fi fun misfit movie with a robot. All right, so yeah, James, this was released between Police Academy 3 and 4 and right after Cocoon. It was peak Gutenberg. Yes, Helifino with G.W. Bailey. And G.W. Bailey and Gutenberg, of course, starred in how many of the Police Academy movies? Let's count them: one, two, three, four. How many? I know Bailey was in, oh gosh, let's go back to the Police Academy and we can pull up a whole bunch of trivia. Um, let's see. Oh, Mr. Furzel, hey Sharon, the same folks that made this made Tremors, yes? Um, Good question. Anybody know that off the top of their head? Was it the same director, maybe? I can Google it. I'm wondering if anybody knows that off the top of their head. Okay, so Bailey was in 5 of the Police Academy movies. How many was Gutenberg in? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's see. And how about if anybody can throw out the crossover between Tremors and Short Circuit? Does anybody know if the same people were involved? Okay, so same writers. Eric says IMDb says same writers. Okay.
Yeah, this is directed by John Badham, who's now looking through his. He gave us War Games, Blue Thunder. You did Saturday Night Fever, so that explains a spoiler reference we're going to see later in the film.
Oh yeah, that interesting. Okay, so James Hellier says so. Gutenberg was in 4, Bailey was in 5 of the Police Academy movies. I don't even know how many of those I have seen. I would have to revisit them. They were, all over cable, all over TV, and sometimes you didn't know which one you were watching unless you had a history with them. But yeah, maybe we'll have to check one of those out. Um, and I have to mention, so there's some trivia going around because this was, as James Hellier had mentioned, like one of the better ET knockoffs. The actual design of these robots are, if not a straight ripoff, it's a homage to ET with the long neck and the big face with the big eyes. There's no denying that there is a connection with the design. So yeah, we were introduced to the the strategic artificial intelligent nuclear transport devices. And in the 80s, any kind of nuclear weapon talk was generally met with apprehension and fear from, especially the younger kids. I was in high school in the 80s. There was a real fear of a nuclear holocaust, and it was a palpable, in the back of our head kind of fear. And that was the days that we were living through. Old Joni Devick says, feels like something from the Friends episode with a robot and Joey. Oh boy.
Is that, yeah, with our love of 80s movies? Because I just heard the whichever was it Rocky Four with the robot. That there's the new version of the movie has eliminated the robot. I'm like, you can't do that.
Was that the one where he went to Russia and they had, or was it, okay, because I'm trying to think of what Rocky movie in the 80s had the robot. Oh, in his house, because he got so rich and famous, he had a servant robot.
Yeah, I can't add any more commentary. I just know the trivia. I never did a deep dive into the Rocky movies.
I wonder if that is Rocky.
I think it's yeah, it's four. Yeah.
I was wondering if it was 3 or 4. And he had this robot that his brother-in-law was, I think, liked a lot. Um, oh, hell if I know. To live in the Northwest in the 80s, I bet that was fun. This is set in Oregon, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, without a dead giveaway, I'm sure everyone in the group can tell exactly what movie this the robot serving drinks and cocktails. I mean, come on. Straight out of Return of the Jedi.
There's a
So,
there's one we can add to the watch list because I'm now looking up. It's reminding me of Heart Beeps. That's 1981. That was 1981, and I think it was Stan Winston, and that was Andy Kaufman and Bernadette Peters. Yeah,
you know what, Matt, I have not thought about that movie in decades. And it was this,
have we lost Sharon? Because that's not good. Because I'm not prepared to go this alone.
there we go.
There, you're back.
I must have clicked out for a second.
Not only was I not prepared to host on my own, I'm going. Wait a minute. I'm running off her feed. Does that mean I went dark too?
No, you know what? I have got this archaic setup on a card table, and I think I just clicked out for a second. It's the
We
gremlins.
just yeah. You got everyone. We'll all be crying malfunction. Input.
Need input, input. Um, so yeah, this is the scene where he's gotten hit by lightning because he's up. He's connected actually to the power generator. So if that's all it takes for a robot to become alive, you would think that there'd be more sentient beings out there because it happens quite a bit.
We
And
we
in a
do get
few,
yeah. We do get the bolt of lightning bringing them quote unquote monster to life. So we've got a little bit of the Frankenstein story going on here.
yep, we've got the origin of Frankenstein, and we've got a lot of references to other stuff in here. And I believe it's an homage. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Oh, yes, good point, James Hellier. You can't be too offended by Fisher Stevens. You wouldn't cast him now, but he fooled me at the time. Absolutely, he did. But when you're looking at a movie decades in the future that was made at this certain time, this movie is what it is and was what it was at the time. Um, and honestly, this is what I thought Fisher Stevens was, but he is so not. Um, yeah, and James Heller says when Fisher Stevens was cast, the character was white. Then they sacked him and cast Bronson Pinchot and made it more ethnic. Then scheduling brought Fisher back again. So then Fisher did have to play a very heavy ethnic part. which
Yeah,
obviously in today's standards we wouldn't have chosen, we wouldn't cast that way or have him perform that way.
that's
But
what. Yeah, I didn't look too much into that, but
yeah,
the yeah, it was interesting with Bronson Pinchot because he would be coming off of his role as Balky in Perfect Strangers.
yes,
And then,
yes.
it's interesting too that I brought up Heartbeeps. That was Andy Kaufman because I was thinking about that earlier because we had Andy Kaufman playing Latka on Taxi, and I'm like, where's this whole era of where we thought, yeah, quirky, you know, stand-up comedians playing, funny foreign characters was that our go-to thing back then?
Yeah, and so in my brain, I'm kind of going back to the simpler time in the '80s, where I think it was probably a matter of they want to get the right person cast in that role, and then they're going to make them play the part that they want him to play, instead of saying, well, if you want an ethnic person in your movie, then you would cast someone of that ethnic background. Whereas today would be different. I think back then was a bit different.
Yeah, because on this line too, I'm thinking like it seemed like they wanted that Robin Williams would have also made a good choice.
Interesting point. Robin Williams instead of Fisher Stevens. How what would he brought to the role? Um, and it was right around this time, or maybe a few years before this came out, that Robbins made his, I guess, film debut in Moscow on the Hudson, and he played a Russian immigrant who defected to the United States, and he pulled that off with the accent, with everything. He just dove into that role, and in so there's I just am not in that Hollywood mode to know why they cast people, why they do, who knows. So anyway, we just kind of have to love these old movies for what they were at the time, and let's just enjoy it, I guess. Yeah. Oh, Calbot over in Discord, that picture of a boo from Simpsons. Yep. Oh, thank you, Calbot. It wasn't his movie debut. It was The World According to Garp in '82. That's right. And I think Moscow on the Hudson was his first one that I've seen. And then later on, it was I revisited and saw According to Garp, which is a very interesting movie. And Popeye, thank you very much. Where is my mind? Popeye was 1980. Popeye would have been his debut, and it would bombed. But surprisingly, they keep giving him movie roles. So now number 5 has gone AWOL. So a couple years after this, when Star Trek: The Next Generation, there was also that connection with Data. I think it was in season 2, the end of season 2 or beginning of, or in season 3, where Picard had to prove that Data was in fact a sentient being, or he would have been disassembled. So, common theme. Yes, Miss Swift, Glenn Close was in Garp too. That was an interesting movie.
You know. Now again with
Um,
Robin Williams, now also remembering him in Bicentennial Man, so we do get that robot connection.
mhm. Yeah, I thought Bicentennial Man was just a bit too long. I think they could have cut that movie probably in half. There was just a lot of story to it. Who here would believe Steve Gutenberg was a scientist? Okay, be a scientist. Adds a level of comedic talent to it. But he doesn't strike me as a robotic scientist that would create a nuclear capable robot. Yes, Calbot nun soup. I love that. Okay, so the government, when they lose a nuclear carrying robot, the first thing they do is send out the troops, and they would be swarming everywhere. But seriously, he couldn't have had a real nuke on his shoulder. That would have been too ridiculous. But they're acting like he's got a nuke. James Halliard, Gutenberg was the studio pick for the role. The writers wanted a Dustin Hoffman type. Okay. Would Dustin Hoffman have brought too much heaviness to the role because it is billed as a comedy?
Unless we're getting like a Rain Man Tootsie combo.
Yeah, and Dustin Hoffman did do Tootsie in, I believe it was 81. Tootsie was 81. So he does have, he has a solid comedic, performance under his belt, but he always strikes me as a heavy actor, like very method. It was a stroke of genius by putting those tracks on number 5, those robots. Makes them move a lot faster than just regular wheels and goes over a lot of terrain.
Yeah, if we see of how functional these actual robots were, or was this more puppetry?
Yep, they were a combination of the animatronics and puppets. This is ingenious because it feels like it's just this functional robot that could be driving itself down the street. James Hallier mentioned Tootsie, which had its own Police Academy connection. I'm trying to process a Tootsie Police Academy connection. Anybody know? Want to shout it out?
And are we just talking the cross dressing?
Could be. I'm thinking my obvious connection would be okay, so is there a crossover with the actors, plots? Oh, George Gaines. So, of course, what quirky movie would not be complete in the 80s without Ali Sheedy? Round of applause. So everybody, oh, you know what? I was just going to ask the crowd, what is your favorite Ali Sheedy movie? Doesn't even have to be from the 80s. And Cowbot, put up the what would have been my choice in Discord. Love Breakfast Club. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite 80s movies, bar none. Um, but you know what? Back to what you had said before about heartbeeps. I remember when heartbeeps came into the theater. It was 81. And it was not, I can't remember it being like this big presence, but I remember the commercials on TV. I remember it hitting the theater. But then I just remember it going nowhere. I don't know if it went on video, if it made the circuit, but I had not thought about that movie in decades until you had mentioned it. And then when I did a Google search of the poster, it took me back to the early 80s. Um, and not too many movies are like that because of the streaming these days. A lot of those 80 movies are out there for everybody to see. But
I wasn't sure, but I have it on DVD.
you have it on DVD. No. So it must have been readily available at some point. I don't know about today, but it might be one of those that I do a deep dive in.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a 2005 release.
wow. Wow. He was Andy Kaufman back in the early 80s because of Taxi. He was, and his stand up comedy, he was everywhere. Um, and not everybody liked him or understood his kind of comedy, but I get it. I saw him on Taxi all the time and I just got it. Oh, James Hellier says War Games is his favorite Ali Sheedy movie. Miss Swift says Fear was 1990, so Breakfast Club. Was Fear 1990? Oh boy. Oh, so many decades of movies, isn't there? Yeah. What do they call them? The Rat Pack back in the 80s? And take off on the Rat Pack, so they were called the Brat Pack. Let's see, this came out in, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this came out in the summer of 86, and it was considered a commercial success. Reviews were mixed at the time, but it made its way in the box office, and my friends and I loved it because it's fun, and it made quite a bit of money, I believe. So back in the day when you had to go to a movie theater, back in the day. Oh, Miss Swift, I love Starman. Yes, that's another good movie. Oh, Halifino says, which is why they made a sequel. Has anybody seen the sequel? That's right, James. They wouldn't have made the sequel if it had bombed. Although there are some movies that stunk that probably shouldn't have gotten sequels. But, oh, Halifino says, I like the sequel more than this one. Honestly, I have not seen the sequel.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I couldn't say if I'd seen it or not. I definitely don't have the DVD for Short Circuit 2.
So Short Circuit 2 came out in 1988. Um, Tim Blaney, again, did the voice of Johnny Five. So it looks like Fisher Stevens joined the cast. But then we have like a whole new, um, oh, was Ali Sheedy in it too? I guess, but Steve Gutenberg didn't come back, I guess. Huh, very interesting. And I have no idea why the sequel just went over my head. Who knows? You know what? Too many movies, not enough time to watch all the movies that you want to watch. Um, so this is a great scene. He is now alive and someone else recognizes it. And it's fantastic. All he says is input, need input. And he's just learning like a baby.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back because, yeah, 1986 would have been, because then I was in college. It was a computer
Hmm.
science major, but I can't remember that this had any influence or sparked any discussions about it at all. And I was just out of the loop.
Yeah, I don't remember that either from a scientific standpoint that this movie made any dent. But it did just play into robots at the time becoming a part of our lives. And of course, the whole computer programming revolution started shortly thereafter when they had a lot of computer programming classes, and it was just right before the home computing phase. Um, so maybe this movie should have sparked more of a discussion. Computers in the military, robots in the military, what would they be capable of? You would think that would at least be some part of a discussion. But yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I don't recall this ever being a hot point of discussion. Yes, Edward the Black Prince says cat lady alert. Yeah, she had like 80 cats in her house. Oh, hell if I know who else had the encyclopedias in their library. Yeah, before computers, we had to have the encyclopedias in our house, or you had to go to the library to get it. That was our research. Yep, everybody count the cats. One, two, three, four, 18, and a skunk. A skunk. I can relate to her though.
So it's interesting too with we go on the subject of product placement because especially with them running the TV ads, and there's a lot of, I'm noticing a lot of Ronnie paper towels, or do they just shop at site? Like,
Yep, because when she turns on the TV, you have the commercials. And that could have been just a sneaky product placement. And of course, sometimes when you're watching a movie, you don't realize that it's on purpose and you just sit back and take it in. But these were real commercials back then. Yeah, James, it wasn't a film that triggered discussion. It was essentially retooled as a kid's movie. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Over on Discord, Miss Swift posted that gif of Who's Johnny. Don't forget that back in the 80s with MTV in full force, it seemed like every single movie had a tie-in music video with a big star. MTV was all the rage. So there was movie after movie with a hit song, video. So correct me if I'm wrong. So if this was set in Oregon, was that bridge is it a real bridge in Oregon? And I'm curious about some of those. Maybe they're trying to fool us by just showing us a bridge, but it really wasn't in Oregon.
I think a lot of this was in. I know it's in the credits, so I think yeah, this is all actually Oregon.
You know, she's right. You lose IQ points the longer you watch. Totally agree. And Edward the Black Prince, nothing says intellectual growth like the Stooges. You gotta love it. But if he's run out of things to read, so then what do? You just plop him down in front of the TV because it's endless, endless amounts of input. Oh, thanks, James. It's the Astoria Megler Bridge. So it's interesting. At this point, she still thinks he's an alien from another planet. And so here's a question. So if a robot like that landed on your doorstep, would you immediately think alien or escaped government robot? Or maybe a robot your neighbor down the street put together? Oh, that's a good post. Matt, no disassemble but doomed to die of dysentery.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I was like, again, that popped in my head, and I immediately went to chat, and I'm like, well, you could have just said it off loud, you dummy.
Okay. That's it. Well, you know what? I sometimes forget I could just go in there and chat away. I don't have to be yak, yak, yakking all the time, but it's fun. Yes, James, I agree. She's thinking, why wasn't my alien shirtless Jeff Bridges? Come on, that's what I'd be thinking. Oh, now she gets it.
I do find that kind of humorous. Is like, yeah, it's like even if it was from an alien from outer space, it's still a robot from outer space. Where she didn't think all that gizmos was.
Right.
Though she did credit, she did ask if that was a spacesuit earlier, so I guess we can give her some credit.
Well, from the background that we had on her life, she's worried about saving the animals. Would she really? Well, now that you think about it, didn't wasn't she already aware that there was a government facility in Washington? Washington is it's got to be close to the border then. If you figure the robot probably didn't travel too far, so she had to have been aware. But if
Yeah,
she's
yeah, she may have a little activist in her because she does
yeah,
immediately know what the Nova company is and that they're the warmongers. So we've got a little bit going there.
yeah, and it is funny. Johnny Devick says, I work at a tech school, so guess I would check the other wing for loose tech. So, yeah, she could have checked for some kind of label or anything.
Yeah, that one too. I know now we're definitely in Oregon because the shop they just left was promoting Rainier beer, and nobody except the Pacific Northwest would bother with that stuff.
And that's a local beer to Oregon.
And yeah, in Washington, you got like Mount Rainier.
Oh, there you go.
It's both local and shunned. I had a friend of mine visiting me here. Is like, yeah, he was interested to try it out, and just the first response from the bartender with his order is like, "You're not from here, are you?" It's the only place you can get it, but we don't drink it either.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, so she's an activist standing up for the rights of animals, but yet she turned around and was sending the robot up the river. Hey, I called them. They're going to come get you and disassemble you and tear you into a million pieces. That, I'm guessing, the actions of the robot jumping like a grasshopper, I'm guessing that was more of I want to say it's more of a puppetry work, but that could have some animatronics into it. I think more of these shots of Johnny Five are the puppet work, and I think the scenes with the hands and the wider shots are a lot of the animatronics. I find it fascinating watching this movie. He appears to be a fully functional robot, but of course, back in the 80s, he's not. So, at what point are the puppet is the puppets what puppet master, puppet strings, puppeteers controlling him, and the animatronics or combination thereof?
Yep, I know in the trivia section when they get all the nitpicks and problems, yeah, there's a lot of point times they point out to where you can see the wires and um yeah, one interesting one is when the thing that comes up later in the movie when he's making food. He's got a tray of food that they take a glass of orange juice off of, and you can see the difficulty they had with the actor removing the glass because it was either taped down or so it wouldn't have fallen off when the robot puppet was handling it.
Those were the challenges they had back when this tech was just being developed. How do you make something practically on screen? Um, but they do a really good job with this movie. And had they made this movie with CGI, it would have looked a lot cleaner and a lot less authentic. Has anybody done a Google search? Oh, has it been mentioned in this movie about how much these Johnny Five units cost to make? I recall some reference somewhere in the movie, um, but with all of that money put into development and producing these robots, you'd think it would be the whole military establishment coming down instead of this the one van where Newton and what is his name? I forgot his name. Is it Jab? Newton and Jab, I think, as a nickname. They're the only ones going after the robot. Yes, James, it aged a lot better than it would have done if it was made 6 years later with CGI.
Yeah, I don't know if we're trying to establish that that we see that party first as this is a private corporation developing the companies, and they were attempting to sell them to the military.
That could be it, like
So that's
a
why, yeah, that
military
this is all,
contractor.
yeah, this is all just being privately handled within house.
Well, I guess that's how they do it these days too, isn't it? Military contractors are usually private companies that develop and produce the tech, and then the military buys it. That's a good point.
Yep, I'm looking at Ms. Swift's comment there. That, yeah, where is the comedic chase scene? We don't have a cart of oranges or
Yep. The two
guys
guys with
in
the
the painted
glass. Yes, James, they are busy in the omen. Yeah, of course, this is the disassemble. Disassemble, that is a line that famously came from this movie. So wasn't that one of the ways that you can prove whether a being is sentient or not is their fight for survival? And he's basically saying, don't disassemble. And I believe that isn't that what Data went through when he had to prove that he was also sentient, his desire to not be killed. And you don't have the right to disassemble me.
Yeah, I think too that, yeah, when we talk about the intelligence of robots, that everyone is looking for, super smart, and I'm going, no, you only have to come, you know, to the lowest intelligence of a human to equal human.
Right.
You don't need the super smart computer.
And at the point that computers are, if we get to the point where they do become smarter than humans, then would they realize humans don't need to program us anymore? We can learn for ourselves on our own, and therefore we have a right to survive, and they can't disconnect us. This is an argument that has been going on for a while with specifically AI technology. Is that where the future lies? Is computers becoming that smart? Um,
Yeah, I think that's bringing up. I think I remember watching in the I Robot movie where they're asking the robot, can you create a masterpiece of artwork, and the robot's response is, can you?
an art is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes, hell if I know the Turing test. This debate about artificial intelligence and computing brain power, what makes a sentient being at its core. I think this debate will go on infinitum. I don't think there will ever become one answer that will answer and satisfy everybody. But let me tell you, Johnny Five looks pretty alive to me, and he's kicking some ass. You got to kind of feel bad. I think they're shooting at him, and I'm feeling like they're killing him. Yeah, that's right. They're killing him. Yeah, Calbot, I no longer side with the AI, disassemble with extreme prejudice. Yeah, that brings up a whole interesting discussion we can have. Um, AI is, it can be pretty frightening. I think decades after this movie came out, Fisher Stevens basically said that if he had to go back and do that role, he would not have done it that way. I do get the sense, though, that he's a little bit smarter than Newton. He's got to be the brains behind it. Okay, so she was feeling bad because they took number five away, which she's the one that called the authorities. She's feeling a little bad that she did that, maybe?
And do we still get a little nod here to the Terminator, who's been shut down but found a backup power supply to at least have enough juice to turn his power himself back on?
Right after he got stabbed through his whole entire system
Yeah.
and little backup power. So here's a very key plot point that he's able to fix himself. And isn't this where he finds the spare parts?
Yep, now he's gonna alter his
Yep.
programming.
So in essence, he can heal himself. Aha, look at all of those spare parts. I do appreciate the design of his face to make it look like he has eyelids. Um, isn't one of the fundamental beliefs when you are designing a lifelike robot is that you don't have to necessarily create them with a face, but it's more appealing for people to interact when they're looking at another face to, in essence, humanize it. So Johnny Five does not have to have those two big eyes, but it's more appealing to the people around him.
Yeah, this is also bringing out, yeah, where we get the design here of number five, and that's at least a reference or an homage in the design of Wally.
Right. Yes, Miss Swift also made that reference to Wally. Yep. So when he stuck his arm out the window, was he giving the thumbs up or was he giving the other finger? I couldn't tell. What was your interpretation of it?
It's yeah, interesting if he's checking signals. We get a better a callback to it later where we get, yeah, definite. I believe it'll be a thumbs up later, but yeah, if he's just checking the mirrors and then just pointing off in the direction, just kind of a open to interpretation.
I originally thought he was flipping them off, but that right there looked more like a thumbs up. But not bad for a robot who was just a couple days old learning how to drive. So his original programming and function would have been to just be a military, what is it, prop to deliver weapons to the enemy behind enemy lines. So maybe the original programming wouldn't have included something like driving a car.
This is now going way back to the 50s movie with the movie Tobor the Great, where they have an immensely huge robot, but there's a scene where just all of a sudden, they definitely can't show it, but just all of a sudden he's in a Jeep driving down the road, and you're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. So what was the name of that movie again?
Tobor the Great.
Toe for the Great.
Tobor is again a big thing there because Tobor is robot spelled backwards. That's a key plot to the story.
I don't know. Tobor the Great. I have not ever heard of that movie. Tobor the Great from 1954.
Yeah, there's a and he was enough not as famous as Robbie the Robot, but he went on to do his own. There's a little TV series too of him.
I wonder if that's available. Oh, I guess it
Um,
is.
I yeah, I definitely have it somewhere here. I was already looking if I could grab it real quickly, but nope.
Oh, you've got some great obscure movies there in your collection.
Yeah, big fan of all the 50 sci-fi. And that again too is when we get all these is like again you get wrote this near in the 80s where it's like all the
Mhm.
robots, what a novel new concept, and I'm like, no, they were thinking about robots long ago.
Right. And it was like every generation had their own fears and anxieties about what robots would do. Um, and they did express them in movies, and they just like in the 80s. And
Yeah,
then we
it
even
falls back to 1999 or 2000, but back I was writing trivia games for the Sci-Fi Channel's website
ooh.
and did a big one themed all on robots. So that was fun research.
Well, the foundation of sci-fi is is kind of to express our fears of what technology would be like in the future, based on some of our preconceived notions and what is going on in the present day arena of technology. So, of course, every decade, every movie maker would have their own expression of what robots would be like. And yeah, some of them have come true for sure.
Yeah, that's always when you look back at old stories and question. It's like, were they predictions of the future or just the inspiration for the future?
Right. A little bit of both.
Yeah, and for every story that warns you, it gave somebody who didn't have the idea, like, oh, I'll do that.
Exactly.
Thanks for letting me know about something I would have never thought of on my own. I will do that thing you warned us not to.
Yep. Or we'll make sure, wink, wink, that our robots aren't capable of doing that. but isn't that interesting? Um, is a sci-fi movie projecting the future and our hopes and fears, and so then you would take that, what you see, and say, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's carry that forward. Or on the other hand, you say, well, we don't want technology to get that far. So, but there's no way of saying we don't want technology to do a certain thing because eventually it will be doing that certain thing. So there's no way of getting around it. Um, but what was that movie? The future is always in motion. And there's no telling where we'll be. Yeah, that was an interesting scene. She's worried about the robot seeing her. You gotta love it. Okay, this guy pulled a gun on him. He's totally unhinged. That's it. Yoda said that. Difficult to see. Always in motion is the future. Yeah, Howard has gone off the deep end. But it does carry the plot forward. Oh, James Hellier had a good point. E.T. was a lech to. In the novel, he was excited by Elliot's mother having a shower. Well, it's a good thing they didn't put that scene in the movie. I think that would have disturbed a lot of kids.
Yeah, I think that's why. Yeah, when you with that, that's why I stick with Mac and Me. Mac wouldn't have done that.
Oh, did we do a watch party of Mac and Me?
I can't remember. There was a lot of hesitation, or I think it was one of those when Andrew's away, we're gonna watch it.
Why am I remembering that we did do a watch party of Mac and Me? Yep, and here's our Saturday Night Fever reference. And he's dancing. Um, I don't have the. Oh yes, James Hellier said yes, we did. It was one Andrew did with Carla. Good memory, James. Yeah, we must have done it a couple years ago. Well, he needed input, and he's got some dance moves. Yes, Cowbot. Andrew likes Mac and Me, but not ET. I
Yeah,
would probably take Mac and Me over ET as well.
that's all. The
Um,
Paul Rudd hype, for Mac and Me.
yes. And I guess Paul Rudd had been doing that for years before I even caught on that that's what he would do. What a great way of just poking fun at the movie and putting the name out there. James Hellier, have we done Blue Thunder yet? No. Are you talking about the Roy Schneider helicopter movie? No. But I am not above putting that on the list. Yeah, James mentioned Carla loved Mac and Me. Yeah, that movie got a lot of love when we watched it. Oh, yeah, this is just too much, them dancing. That's just too much. All right, ladies out there, if your boyfriend treats you wrong, would you go to a robot for comfort? Look at that. She has him cooking and probably cleaning. This is some good puppetry, though. I'm guessing this was a lot of puppet work because there's a lot of clumsiness going on.
Yep. I do like that little call there too, where it says add eggs, and he just throws in the eggs without cracking them open. And I'm like, yeah, the recipe doesn't tell you to do that.
But this isn't this exactly how a young child would be baking? They would follow the directions without knowing the nuances.
I'm not sure, but I think one of the cats in the background was doing something that I'm not sure they were very pleased about it doing.
You mean the one in the sink?
No, no, there's one on the back
Yeah.
window who had its rear end arched in a certain way I'm familiar that is not pleasant.
Oh, I missed that.
Because that's the first thing too, where I'm seeing it's like I'm going, they got that many cats. I'm like, yeah, that house stinks.
Yeah, that's a lot of cats. Plus, allowing them on your counter while you're cooking. Oh boy, hell if I know Captain Denim. Yes. Look at that denim shirt, denim jacket.
That too, where we're seeing those movie tropes to where he knows the key is just hidden above the door. That one, and putting your car keys in the
But
visor
the,
above.
the
How many people actually do that? Well, how did those become tropes? Who would do that unless it was just convenient for the movie plot?
I bet back in the day a lot of people did. And then the trope took effect, and
Yeah.
you would think people would say, "Oh, maybe not. I won't do that." Yeah, Edward the Black Prince, my cat isn't allowed on the counter, period. Amen. I bet that fall wasn't in the script. Looks like he took a
No,
hard.
they mentioned too that if you pause and watch it, you'll see Ali Sheedy laughing.
Oh, sweet revenge.
But how does he know the car's not alive? Because he just willingly disassembled that car.
You know, when you think about it, if he is self aware, why would he assume every other piece of technology was not self aware? Did he ask the car before he took it apart? He disassembled the car. Oh, he would be a murderer. That's true, James Hellier. It's not a Night 2000. Yeah, the good old days of Knight Rider television, early 80s. And I think that show itself was one of the reasons why NBC very shortly thereafter jumped to number one in the ratings, I believe. So, how long was he in the house that gave Johnny Five the time to take apart the car and place all the pieces? Oh, that's some precision laser work.
And it seems to too a laser that not only has a kill and stun setting, but now it's apparently set to just embarrass.
Yep. Okay, so now he's a pissed off ex boyfriend. Oh, they're the worst. Oh, yeah, James Kit wouldn't have sat there and let himself be disassembled. Oh, yeah. Yeah, James, Johnny Five is fast. He's not paid by the hour like a normal mechanic. That is so true. Oh, Calbot over in Discord, that GIF of Data. I am programmed in multiple techniques, a broad variety of pleasuring. I remember that episode. I bet a lot of you guys too remember that when Data became more than just a robot.
Yep. Answering that question is Data a Ken doll? The answer is no.
He's fully functional. Oh, Mr. Furzel mentioned missing Seattle. So, yeah, you're familiar with this area. It's lush and green. It reminds me of a lot of like Northern California, too. But Seattle gets all of that rain. Of course, there's lush vegetation everywhere.
Yeah, I've only visited Seattle, and I've never, and there's just being a tourist and dealing with the traffic is all I remember. And Seattle streets are designed very oddly.
Is it a concrete jungle or is there a lot of greenery to kind of?
Mostly just seemed like a lot of high rises. I remember we went, I you know, we stayed in the area near the Space Needle,
Mm.
and I was expecting to be able to use the Space Needle as a point of reference, and I could never see it.
Oh, because of all the fog and the rain?
No, just because
Or
of all the high rise buildings and everything being crowded, and I think it's a lot of hillsides, kind of a.
Mm.
But yeah, I was going to say, well, yeah, I'll be able to get back, no problem, because you just look up and see the Space Needle, and I could never find it.
Oh,
Where
jeez.
is it?
Um, so yeah, I bet the center of Seattle is more of a concrete jungle.
Yep,
But
and
is
yeah,
it like suburbs of Seattle where you could get the parks, the lush green grass, and the trees? Huh. Yeah, I've never been. I've been to enough concrete jungles in my day. Oh, old Johnny Devick went past Bill Gates's old office, took a trip under the old city and into the Space Needle, and met the guy coding OneNote. Good times. Yeah, and it's still the hub, isn't it, of Microsoft? As far as I remember, I don't think they've moved. So I'm guessing that you can tell the difference between number one, number two, three, four, and five because of the eyes. So whichever robot that is, look at that, the evil eyes. Or is he squinting to make himself look evil? Or is that a Newton Crosby design? Yeah, no kidding, Edward. These robots can't aim for shit. They're supposed to be precision. What am I trying to say? Precision aiming and
Stormtrooper.
firing. Yeah, like a stormtrooper. They're like stormtroopers.
The, the number 5 is heavily shielded with plot armor.
Robot versus robot. Everything should be like laser focused, um, and not haphazard the way stormtroopers are. But they can't hit they can't hit a thing.
Gonna see the like, yeah, is this the same universe where this didn't work out, so all these robots got scrapped and sent to the shopping mall?
Yes. Old Johnny Demick says, those blasts are too precise. Only Imperial stormtroopers are. Yeah, that was the quote from Star Wars A New Hope. Yeah, sand people walk single file to hide their numbers. Yeah, James, good point. This is robot versus toddler, but the robot should be able to aim and stay focused on it no matter what because of his circuit boards. And but it's just a movie. So Nova wants their robot back to disassemble it. So they could technically, if it is Nova property, they would just arrest everybody for what? Theft. But they have to get the robot. He's doing a great job evading capture. He's a pretty smart robot. So we have about 20 minutes left. This movie just went riding along. Oh, Mr. Furzel, not sure which is worse, skinny robots or skinny erector set robots. There we go. Now we have the full force of Nova. Or actually, that's the military, all the guys with the guns, that's got to be the military. And who says the Three Stooges is a waste of time? Oh boy. James tell you the robots were constrained by their orders not to destroy number 5. Was that mentioned in the movie, or that would probably be basic programming? You don't destroy your own.
Yeah, are we getting into Isaac Asimov's 3 laws? Or do we get the RoboCop with the hidden directive 4?
With the hidden directive. Yep. Boy, she's really treating him like a person, like an alive being. Oh, Johnny Devick says, I must say The Iron Giant is my favorite friendly robot movie. That's a good one, The Iron Giant. Not just made for kids, actually. Oh, yeah, who made that reference to Mambo number five? Old Johnny Devick. Yeah, Mambo number five. Anybody else remember that? All over the radio, had a video and everything. Okay, a little voyeurism. Yeah, Johnny Devick, a little bit of Johnny Five on the side. Well, they're all getting close to Johnny Five. They still can't find him. But now it seems that number five has the plan. And in the span of just a couple days, he has become smarter than everyone in the movie. Oh, Miss Swift mentioned Schroeder's second in command there, Duke, was also in The Running Man and Project X. There's a fun movie, Project X. Anybody else remember that from the 80s? I want to say Matthew Broderick and Helen Hunt and the cutest dang little chimpanzees. That would be a fun one. But I had researched that a little bit ago and it was not readily available. And I think it fell out of licensing. There we go. Yeah, and even Googling Project X, it brings me up to the 2012 movie. The 1987 one was the one I'm thinking of. Has anybody else seen that? Does anybody else remember that movie?
That's I certainly knew of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing it in the theaters and then on video, and then it was like it just vanished. And you never saw it on TV, never saw it on rental. I might have to search that one out to see if it is available. Maybe we'll do a watch party. Because it would make it for a very interesting discussion. And I remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about the movie Dogma, and Kevin Smith now has the rights and was going to release it in the theater. If anybody else has been catching up on that, what is it, April already? I think it has set for a May release in the theaters. So there's probably going to be, I'm sorry?
Yeah, is that May or June? Because I know I just saw a bunch of the stuff on that too. Somehow
No.
June was the month that popped into my head.
Yep. So I know it's coming up and it's going to have a theatrical run. And so then I'm assuming, it's going to hit streaming markets shortly thereafter. So it's an interesting movie. It does have a lot of religious undertones, overtones. It's in your face at times. So it might not be to everyone's liking, but as a movie of thought-provoking discussion, I find it very interesting. So
Yeah,
check
it's
it out if
says
you
right
can.
here. Yeah, June 5th.
June 5th, there you go.
Yeah, there's some special tour and some special screenings starting on Easter Sunday, appropriately.
Yep. So if it wasn't it you, Matt, that you actually had a copy? You have it on
Yeah,
DVD.
yeah, I have the DVD.
Yeah, and talk about an all-star cast. What George Carlin, Ben Affleck, and Alanis Morissette has a little bit of a cameo. Matt Damon, all-star cast. Oh, and
Yeah,
even Alan Rickman has a, yeah. There you go. Alan Rickman's in it too.
yep. That's a special two disc.
Oh wow, you
This came out.
score.
Yeah, this is a 2000 released in 2000. This set.
Nice. So back to Johnny Five. It looks like they're all becoming a happy family. They're all going to protect him. So wouldn't it have made an interesting side note to this movie if actually announcing him to the world and getting the world to accept him as a sentient being was part of this story? Of course, it would have been an overkill to this very simplistic movie, but that is just kind of a general flow. Once you accept a sentient being, you need to have everybody else accept it, I guess. Yeah, Johnny Devick, they're watching the meteor shower together. It's like a family on a camp out. Mr. Furs will comment over on Discord, tell a joke. If you get it, you're alive. And well, let's say if you don't get it and you don't find it funny, you could still be alive, but then it's just a bad joke. There's another one, spontaneous emotional response. Oh yeah, Johnny Devick, Dagobah is nice this time of year. It is giving off that Dagobah swamp vibe. But yeah, it does look like they're in the desert. That raises a point, and she's just yelling, just tell him he's alive, and what? It all stops. That is actually almost impossible to prove that any kind of automation or computer is alive. I think it would ever happen. You could try to convince someone of it that they're alive. Okay, the real army is there. Yeah, they're toast. You're surrounded by the military. What do? What, you fight or give up? Oh boy.
Yeah, at first the actor there playing Howard, he came across. I was thinking kind of first that he was the dad from the Elf TV series, but looked him up and I said no, he's the public defender with the stutter from My Cousin Vinny.
That's exactly right. And he was in a lot of other roles because you immediately recognize him and his voice mannerisms. But he was My Cousin Vinny. You are right. Oh, old Johnny Devick says now we see him escaping to Mexico and he ends up at the factory working with Ed Norton in The Incredible Hulk. You know, Ed Norton did play a very interesting Hulk. Yeah, I think he was in what, two movies as the Hulk?
No, just the one.
Just the one? I thought it was
Yeah.
two.
No, the first Hulk, the Hulk movie that preceded that one was Eric Bana.
That's it. That's who I'm thinking of. And was it Ed Norton and was it Jennifer Connelly, or was Jennifer Connelly with Ed Bana?
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly is with Bana, and it was Liv Tyler with Ed Norton.
Tyler, got it. Here's a hint that you don't have regular army, everybody aiming at them. They're worse shots than stormtroopers. I don't, they're not, just shake my head. They should have at least taken a bit of them off. And look at that. They have jeeps. Do they have a tank? They have a helicopter.
Yeah, they're spending a lot of money to get their money back. A lot of corporate mentality. They ought to spend
Yeah,
spend dollars to save pennies.
there we go. Good shot. Yeah, the targeting and guidance systems back in the 80s and military aircraft, was it self programmed or was it all computer programmed? Because it's almost like today everything is, once the person in charge can lock on the target, it's all automated from there and they can't screw it up. But yeah, that was harsh. They blew him up. Yeah, you know what, old Johnny Devick, you prefer him to the Marvel version. In some ways, I did like Ed Norton's Hulk better than Marvel's version in some respects. Um, old Johnny Devick says this makes me want to see Stealth again. Didn't like it at the time, but maybe it makes more sense now. And I just Googled that. That was from 2005. I don't remember seeing it, but I think I remember it coming out. I don't know, but it looked familiar. The poster does look familiar. Yeah, they're just licking their wounds and sulking because old Johnny Five got blowed up.
There it is. Couldn't remember that. You brought up Stealth, and I was thinking Clint Eastwood and couldn't remember that name. That was Firefox.
Oh, Firefox. That was from the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's 82.
Number five is alive. Ah, very clever. So you know what, the military will just, yeah, we got them. We're going to move on. They're not going to take those pieces that they blowed up, maybe dissect them, figure it out that they actually killed someone else. Oh, Miss Swift, Blue Thunder, Firebird, Stealth, and Firefox. Oh, that would be a nice quadruple bill. Oh, you know what, James? Good point. He created a robot to be destroyed as a patsy. Yeah, he did murder a new robot, didn't he? Okay, let's all sing the song. Who is Johnny? Well, that's a sign that he was truly alive because he set up a patsy to take the fall. Yep, there you go. And they ride off into the sunset to Montana. And we get to dance. All right. Well, as the credits roll and we get to see more of Johnny Five. All right, there you go, y'all. That was Short Circuit. And it was a really fun movie to come back to after taking a hectic week off. And we're back at it, guys. Thank you, Matt, for being here. This was fun. And thank you all for joining. Because, yeah, these credits go on and we see some fun times.
Yeah, I think there's a few clips that weren't actually
Yeah.
that didn't make it into the movie into this end scene. You'll get your robotic middle finger here.
Yeah. So, hey, what did you all think? We've got a few minutes. Yeah, we got about a couple more minutes of the credits. Nice music in the background. What did you guys all think? All right. Helifino says classic 80s sci fi flick. Yes. Miss Swift says heartwarming 80s flick. Yes. It just embodies all the fun that the 80s were just fun, full of fun movies like this. This is what made being a kid during the 80s a joy, is we got to go see these in the theater, and it was an adventure, and it was a fun time to be alive. Yeah, old Johnny Devick, this kind of leaves some worries. How long will he last? What will he do when his friends die of old age, etc.? Yeah, old Johnny Devick says it was nice and cozy. Yeah, and so Johnny Five being a robot, he would outlive everybody. He could always fix himself. And there you go. So Edward the Black Prince also said, not gonna lie, I ended up really liking it, really charming. Well, very good. I am so glad we all got together this week. And we're gonna be doing it again next week. And I'm hoping in somewhat more permanent surroundings where I don't have to worry about the echo. And so, as you probably all know, that Val Kilmer did pass away a couple days ago, and we have already seen a couple of his good movies in our watch parties. I know we saw Willow. Um, I am looking at pulling another one of his movies into our watch party repertoire, but they might be a little bit longer than 2 hours. And I think that's okay if we can, if we can swing it. Um, I already have one set up for next week, but maybe we'll revisit Val Kilmer in, yeah, see, one of his Batman. There's so many Val Kilmer movies. And I'm just really careful of your guys' time with us today. I know sometimes it goes late into the night, so we will revisit Val Kilmer. I promise you. So, um, and before I say goodbye, let me announce the movie for next week. We're going to do another change of pace. And with the upcoming In Search of Darkness 95 to 99, I figured we'd put a doozy for next week. And we were going to see Dark City from 1998. That will be next week. And I believe we're all familiar with that movie. If not, it should be available on all the streaming services. And I bet you have it on DVD, don't you, Matt?
I'm going right. Wait.
It was big back in the day.
Oh, it's one of those those good ones where, yeah, I do have it on DVD, and look, it's still in its original wrapper.
Nice. Is that a steelbook?
No, nope,
Okay.
that's one of those cheesy Walmart $5 finds.
Well, alrighty.
That's
Um,
the DVD case that isn't even plastic. It's got cardboard flat DVD.
Yep, there you go. Dark City was a really good one back in the day. And yes, James, we did Real Genius with Andrew and Dom, so we have done a couple Val Kilmer, but yeah, that one hit hard for me. So I want to
I go,
revisit.
yeah, if we're gonna go, yeah, if we're gonna get a voting for Val Kilmer movies, I'm going like, hey, I need an excuse to watch Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I will.
Hour and a half, pretty good, fits nicely.
Yeah, if we can keep it under 2 hours. I mean, my first blush would go Tombstone. I would go Tombstone in a heartbeat every day, all day. But yeah, we'll keep this discussion, and we'll revisit Val Kilmer. So yeah, James Hellier Thunderheart. That's another one. I got to show him some love. So all right, so we'll wrap it up for today, guys, and thank you again for showing up, and we'll show up again next week. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you being here.
Nope, great
Always a
opportunity
fun
to step
time.
in and watch a movie.
Yeah, always a fun time with you guys. So we'll take a breath. We'll do it again next week. And everyone just be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, be kind to animals. And we'll see you all next week. Oh, yes, Johnny Devick, he did do The Saint. That's another interesting one. So, all righty. We'll be on that. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yep, bye.